Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. I'm your host, John, back with my girl, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good. I'm trying to contain my excitement for tonight. My cheeks
Uh,
hurt. I'm already smiling so much.
I can tell. So, our special guest tonight, Tim Paulson. Tim, how are you?
I'm good, man. Life is good.
Yeah, I know. And because this is audio for most people who won't watch it on YouTube, we got a baby on the show tonight, which is really, this is why Nikki's gushing and like losing her.
I'm losing my mind. Tim, will you introduce us to your new little bundle of joy?
Yes, so this is my son, Wesley Jack Paulson. He was born October 3rd of this year. So yeah, he's here. He's awesome.
You just said my son. Is that still weird?
Still very weird, but also super cool. Yeah, I mean, I still feel like I shouldn't be trusted with, I mean, maybe a dog even. So like the fact that we have a child now is like just beyond me that someone allowed us to have this. But yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Were you like leaving the hospital feeling like, is there a manual or am I stealing this? Like someone should definitely be here to like make sure that I don't not keep
100%.
this thing alive.
No, I mean, and like the coolest, so like we took a course before, kind of leading up to the birth, just like general birthing things, and like because my wife and I
Sure.
were both like, we don't know anything, and I feel like we should know a lot, like, and we don't know much at all. So we took a course leading up to it, but still, like the moment right before you leave the hospital, you like just kind of this shared look of like, oh my God, we're what do we do when the nurses are gone and when like the on-call doctors are gone and like we have to live in our house and what do we do now? So it was terrifying, but I mean the second we got home, honestly, like within a couple hours we were like, hey, we have a little human and this is like the coolest thing ever and we're going to figure this out. So it changed quickly, but
Well, and the best news, Tim, is babies can't tell on you. So, if you screw up, he's not going to say anything. So, what do you care?
Mm-hmm.
You're good. You're all good.
I have ginger baby envy right now. Hard.
Oh, we lucked out. I mean, not lucked out, obviously, but I mean, he's ours. But we, when he was born, the doctor like looked up at us and she's like, "Didn't you say you wanted a ginger baby?" And we were like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, great news! It's a redhead." And we are like, "Oh my God, gingers continue!" Because
Ah,
my hair was much redder when I was a kid. Like I was red, as was my buddy.
mhm.
So like we were like, all right, well, we're 2 for 2. I don't really know how genes work. It's not my forte. So like, I don't know what the odds are
Oh,
here, but we were hoping for ginger.
oh, let me tell you the odds because I have weighed this in my mind so many times because I'm like dying for a ginger baby. My husband is just hair just like yours, Tim, and
Oh, that's
wore it
awesome.
long for 10 years, like basically the same. You guys are the same. You're a little fitter. I hope Matt's not listening. But I always have said, like, I would love to have a little ginger baby that looks just like him and the gingers continue and whatever, whatever. Yeah. Let me tell you how the genes work. Barely at all. Like so recessive, so recessive that your odds are just like crushed by all the brown
So,
hair and dark eyes and ugh.
Nikki, if I want to make you feel better about it, my baby sister is a ginger. She went
Uh-huh.
5 for 6.
What do you
Five for
mean? All
five,
gingers?
all
Ginger,
gingers. 5 gingers, one blonde. Swear to
that's
God.
an army of gingers. That's
Okay.
awesome.
I'll show you guys a picture sometime. It is absolutely an army of gingers. It's
Oh my
unreal.
God.
That's
That's what I
fantastic.
want.
They
Yeah.
can have each
That's
other's
totally what I
backs
want.
when they all get inevitably made fun of.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
It's like the
being a ginger
wheat.
is cool now. It's the
Yeah.
thing, like thanks to Ed Sheeran.
It was not cool when I was growing up, for sure.
Oh, not for Matt either. No way. And
Yeah.
he's the same. He was like red when he was a kid. I see pictures and I'm like, oh, your head's on fire.
Oh yeah.
Different now, but yeah. Oh, so fun. I love
Yeah.
it.
My
I
hair's
love
grown
it.
in a little bit. It's a little less red now, but still quite red. We'll see. I'm curious to see how his grows in. I really hope it just like stays super duper uber red, but we'll find out.
Oh, he's so freaking cute. How has adjusting and sleeping and all those new parent things been going for you guys?
I mean, honestly, on the whole, pretty good. Like he's as far as babies go, like I feel like he's a pretty cool, pretty chill baby. Like on the whole. Um,
Nice.
granted, my wife is also a superwoman, like, so she's the best. But I mean, yeah, like as far as, like he's been going great with like growing, feeding. He sleeps pretty well. I mean, all things considered, I guess as well as you could kind of expect a 6-week-old to sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also
he just got here, so I cut him some slack.
exactly. Oh, what's up?
Yeah.
All good. Yeah, so I mean, he's going pretty well. And like, my wife and I are both creatures of routine and habit, like to a T. And I think that's definitely paid off. I mean, granted, they don't really have habits when they're a couple weeks old, but just like, I feel like there is, maybe this is me being a little bit too university. Like, I feel like you just kind of pass on the, just the vibes more than anything.
Yeah.
So I think like, just kind of pushing those, like, hey, it's nighttime now and we're all really tired, so we're going to go to bed. And like, he kind of like, he's like, all right, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I don't know. That's what I imagine him saying, but
yeah, he's a logical baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
He's super logical.
Well, you're lucky you guys are in the off season too. That's got to help, right? Like,
he definitely planned. So like we were, I mean, we planned on having a baby perfect world October, because we got married in October, we got engaged in October. October is our favorite month because we love leaves and we're super basic people. So like,
yes,
we really wanted to have a baby in October. And also, it made perfect sense when we were like, when we had made the decision, hey, we're ready to have a kid, let's, kind of get the show on the road. We're like, all right, well, the games are in August. So we say no September just in case, because, we don't want to like maybe accidentally have an August baby. So like, we're like, all right, October. So yeah, we just kind of got lucky. We had an October baby. Where was I going with that story though?
Training off season.
Oh yes. So sorry. I looked
got you. No worries.
I looked at him and I got distracted. He's kind of cute. But yeah, so like we were planning all that out, and then obviously, 2020 happened, and we're lucky that, we are in the off season. So my training's kind of on the back burner right now for the most part. But I mean, it worked out for the most part because the games were at home. Because if they weren't at home and there was a lot of like, if there was a lot of quarantining and things like that, I don't know how that would have gone for me as far as, because he was born on the 3rd, the games were the 19th to the 21st or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, it would have been close enough that, if we were traveling, like I might not have been super comfortable traveling. And I guess it lucked out that I wasn't fit enough to make it to the finals this year, because I wouldn't have gone anyway. Like I knew that from the start. Once they announced, they're like, yeah, the finals will be in the middle of October. I'm like, damn, I want to have a really good year, but maybe like not too good. Like,
yeah.
So like that was, but like, so once everything kind of shook out and happened, like, again, things kind of worked out nicely, but we definitely planned for this so that, I could not be, super neurotic about my training while he was super young, and, he wasn't on a schedule and we weren't sleeping much. And, just because training obviously takes a ton out of you. So, I didn't want to be a full zombie, like, especially for the first few months of his life, because that didn't seem fair to him or to Caitlin, my wife, or, to anybody really, or to me.
True. Yourself included. Absolutely. That's really important.
Yeah.
How was your 2020 birth situation? It just like, were you allowed to be in the hospital? I know some places were really strict about all of those rules, and it's crazy to think that the world was on fire and you guys were still just like, going through one of the most important moments of your life.
Yeah. So thank God. Yes.
Cool.
I had friends who had babies early in quarantine or early during COVID, and the husbands weren't allowed in. And I was like, you would have to put up a steel door and strap me to because I really don't see a world where you don't let me in the room for the birth of my first child. Like, that's just not, right. I couldn't, like, they said that. And I just looked at Kayla and I was like, that's cute. They think they can stop me. I was like, that's not. Yeah, luckily, things are really, for the most part with COVID, things up here in Ithaca are pretty good. Like our case numbers are relatively low, and our hospital system is also very, we have a great hospital system as well. Like the birthing unit's fantastic. So, we had a really great experience, especially being amidst all of this craziness. Like I was, fully there for everything.
Cool.
Questions, we felt super safe. Everything felt really clean. All the care, all the first, frontline workers were just, we couldn't have asked for a better birth experience, all things considered.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
You did a really touching post the other day. I almost messaged you on it. I want you to expound on it a little, just coming away with maybe a different view of your wife after the birth. I just remember the birth of mine, and I had the same feeling of I kind of call it shock and awe a little bit, because it's shocking as a dude to see what goes down, and then there's just awe of what just happened, and how strong your wife is. What was that experience like for you?
Sorry, he has a diaper. I'm going to pass him off for a second.
Of course. Oh,
So-
change him on the air. Come on. No, I'm kidding. Please stop.
I've done a couple of lap changes already. So like, I'm feeling pretty confident in my on the fly change abilities.
Nice.
Yeah, no, that process was unbelievable. Like I love my wife a lot, and like I had a tremendous amount of respect for her before she gave birth to our child. But like watching her go through everything, like she had a very difficult labor. Just I won't go into detail because but anyway, like it was like
Cool, but off the air, I have all the questions. So Caitlin, you and I are going to schedule our own
I don't
Zoom.
want to like scare off anybody listening to this with some weird birth details.
I'm here for it later. Keep going.
Yeah. It was many days long, and there was a lot of ups and downs, and she, like, the way that she just kind of rolled with the punches, and really, she's a very control oriented person. She loves to have a plan. She loves to have, like boom, 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 step A, B, C, D, like, kind of run through it. And especially with COVID going on, she didn't really want to have a birth plan necessarily, because she wasn't sure what it was going to be like. So, she blew my mind. Like, just the way that she, kind of almost put her personality, like, I won't say put her personality aside, because she's a really strong lady, and like that came through and that's shown, but like her ability to just kind of like, put everything else aside and just be like, this is what my body's telling me, this is what the baby needs, and just like put him first and foremost and just roll through that process. Like, I was blown away. And then, just like, the strength, the resolve, like just the things that, like, your body has never felt more useless than when your wife births your child. Like, you're like, wow, I'm super fit. I'm one of the fittest people on the planet, and everything about me is useless. Like, other than defending like my wife.
Well, not everything technically. I'm just saying.
Yeah, not even. But it was definitely, and like that, and in that post, I think I said, like, the amount of times I've like fallen in love with my wife again, like throughout the birth process, and then since then, just like watching her care for our son, and like like watching the whole breastfeeding thing happen, and like that bonding, so it's just like, it's a really cool, just unreal thing that obviously you can't appreciate until it happens to you. Like, I knew
So
she was
cool.
awesome, but turns out she's like 100 times more awesome than I knew.
Well,
She's a superhero. Straight
100
up.
Yeah.
All moms are
Straight up.
superheroes, but I think
So cool.
I think she's a special kind of superhero. So
Oh.
What have you seen in yourself? Like, I felt that paternal instinct kick in, like probably right. It felt like moments after my daughter was born, like I felt like a different person. How has it been for you, just like coming to the realization that you're a dad now?
it's definitely the coolest thing ever. And like, I don't know, I just feel like every day is like a journey to try and earn the title. Because, like, especially for me, like I have a really, really good relationship with my parents. Like, both my mom and my dad had a great relationship growing up. We still have a great relationship to this day. So like, I feel like I've got a really high bar to clear as far as like being a dad that I would be like, third, like, watching me be proud of, like, so I feel like I have a really high bar to clear, which I think is good, but it's definitely, so that's one piece. But I think the biggest thing was just that, like, priorities change immediately, like, just, and the, just like I'm out and I go to do my training either in the basement or at the gym or whatever, and it's like, I'm more efficient than ever, because I'm like, I want to go home, and like I want to spend time with him, and I want to like spend more time with Caitlin. I don't want to miss anything, so it's like that priority shift was probably just the biggest thing, and like what your free time, when you thought you had free time before, and like you thought you enjoyed doing these things in your free time, it turns out that what you really like doing is laying on the couch and staring at him. So like, it's, your free time kind of disappears pretty quickly. But
that was always like my biggest fear. That was always my biggest, like, I don't know if we're ready to have kids because I don't know if I want to like give up my own things, or I don't know if I'm going to want to like, rush home from the gym to like watch him sleep while I just like stare at him, that kind of thing, which like I've heard every parent say, but that was always kind of like the biggest shift for me into adulthood is like, are we ready to do this yet? Or like, do I still feel like I want to spend 2 hours at the gym if I feel like it on a weekend or something like that?
Oh, 100%. Like, I mean, again, I think Kayla and I have a really strong, very like communicative relationship. So like, I'm not worried about like our personal, the things that we like to do, on a personal basis that we still actually care about. It turns out, some things you're like, oh, it turns out I don't really like that thing that much. Like just kind of
right.
like falls back. But, like for the things that you really do enjoy, like, I don't, I don't foresee any problems, from our relationship standpoint, just because I know how strong it is and like how, open and how much we communicate. So like, that's, I guess the first piece of it, but we definitely, I mean, to go back to what you were saying, like we were very much like hemming and hawing for a long time about like, are we ready? Like what is ready? When you're like, how do I define the word ready for a child? So like we were having a blast. We were running all over the world. CrossFit had opened up a bunch of cool opportunities. Like we just did a bunch of really cool stuff. And we were like things that we could do with a kid, but would have to put off, until he or she was 3, 4, 5 or older,
right,
like just
exactly
during those, younger stages. So that was kind of the biggest, I guess, thought process for us was like, all right, we both hit right about 30 and we had just a couple of years of just, phenomenal life experiences. Like we went to South Africa twice, Iceland a couple of times, went to Ireland, like it was just like, we love to travel. So let me preface that. So like, we had a bunch of really great trips, met a lot of awesome people. And we were like, man, like that was great. And then we just kind of had this moment of like, hey, I think we're ready. I think it's time.
it's all right. Yeah.
Not that we've ever had enough experiences and we'd love, we can't wait to travel with him and show him the world. Like, that's definitely high up on our list of things to do as a family. But, we were pretty happy taking a break for a little while. And it turns out COVID was going to force us to take a break anyway. So,
yeah. I know. I feel like such a dick every time I say like it was kind of nice being forced into a break, because I know that a lot of people, it was not good for them. And so I preface it by saying I can appreciate how that necessarily wasn't the best scenario for a lot of people. But we sort of felt exactly the same way in this house where I'm like, oh, good. Like I'm tired. I don't mind staying home, working from home, being forced to spend time together. It's totally appropriate at this point.
not the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, John, do you have any good like dad advice for Tim?
I don't know. Look, first of all, Dad, he's got a great dad, so he doesn't need my advice.
True. Is this the official kickoff of our dad series?
It needs to be. Yeah, Tim. We're gonna do a dad series. I've already got your dad on the short list of people I want to have on. I ran into Tim's dad. I forget where I met him first. It was at a CrossFit event, and he just like seeked me out. He's like, hey, I'm Tim Paulson's dad. And we started talking to me like he'd known me his whole life. And first of all, he's fit as hell, Nikki. Like he's competing. And is he still going to go to the Legends competition in Phoenix?
Yep. Yeah, he's going to go out there.
Yeah. So he's competing in this Legends Masters comp that's coming up in December. I'm going to go to that. So I'll see him compete, which will be fun.
Ooh.
And so, yeah, he's super strong, super fit. And then I ran into him again, I think maybe at Wadapalooza. I think that's right. And again, same thing. He just like tracks me down and talks to me like we've known each other our whole life, like he's just super.
That's dad move number one. Everybody's champ. Hey, buddy. Hey, chief. Let's we go way back.
Well, I think that's the thing though. Like, and it's funny. I mean, you're obviously full grown and he's still out there supporting you. That's I think the biggest trick of being a dad is just being there. Like, I can't tell you how many sidelines I was sitting on for soccer games and plays and musicals and God knows what. And some of it's painful to watch, but it's your kid. You want to be there, it's like,
it's your painful.
Yeah. And mine are 19 and 17 now. So I look back at, I get the photos on my phone of, memories or whatever. And I'll look back on the events now and I'm like, oh man, I hated that play, but they were so cute, Yeah. So that'd be my only advice. Just go to as many things as you can. And truthfully, I think to your earlier point of, are we ready to blow up our life? It really doesn't. Like, you still find time to do the things you want to do. I mean, and you're a CrossFitter, dude. That kid will be in the gym doing rope climbs in like
Oh yeah.
2 years,
No
So
doubt. No, I mean, and that's like, I mean, I appreciate that because I couldn't agree more. Like, going back to like both my parent, like, again, my mom's the best, but like, like, again, father-son relationship is something very like, it's very special. And, my dad was always, no matter what sport I played, he started. Like, so like he was a Division I basketball player, and like he was also a runner. So he was like, he's been fit his whole life, like always been an athlete, but he's never played any of this. Like, I chose ice hockey, and he like slapped on skates and tried to learn how to play ice hockey at like 31
Oh my
years old.
God.
I wanted to snowboard when I was like 13. He's like, all right, screw it. I've never been to a mountain, but I'll snowboard. So he like slaps on a snowboard and learns how to snowboard at like 40 years old. It's just like, and that like those, just like that desire to be like, oh, well, like this is what my son wants to do. So like, I'm at least going to give it a shot so I can be involved and be like a small part of it. Like that was always a really big piece of like my dad and my relationship. Again, he coached my sports teams, all until I was a mid teenager. So, I definitely have those fond memories of my own dad, growing up, just that, again, he was always there and always trying what I wanted to try, even if it seemed, even if he had no right to try it. And it was the same thing with CrossFit. Like I started CrossFit in 2012, and like, I think I made my first regional, and then like the next year, so I made regionals in 2013, and then in 2014 my dad was like, hey, what is this thing? Because I had owned a gym for 2 years at that point, and he started CrossFit, and like, so that was like, that's his most recent feat is like, he started CrossFit when he was, I don't even know how to do math. He was born in 64, and he started in 2014. Someone do numbers.
He was old.
Yeah. It was a late start, but
oh my goodness, I love him.
Oh, and he's so supportive.
That
like
is the greatest.
he's such a supportive dude, Nikki. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Tim, but one thing I really appreciate about your dad is during the whole kind of uproar with CrossFit earlier in the year, I was catching a lot of hell on social media from people. That's no secret. And your dad would just occasionally just send me a message of support. Just, hey, really like your stuff, keep the faith, appreciate what you're doing. Like, it wouldn't be anything flowery or, but it'd just be a quick, hey, you're doing great. Keep doing what you're doing. And that really means a lot,
Yeah. No, I mean, both, I joke all the time that like my parents are like the mayors of CrossFit because, of course they're like, I'm there. So of course they're super proud of me, and they're proud of what I've accomplished with the games and with my gym and all that stuff. So it's like, there's that piece of it. But like, I mean, one of the funniest memories, like it was regionals in I think it was 17. I think it was the first year that I qualified, and we're like walking out, and we're leaving the stadium it was in Albany that year. And like, my mom sees like a block across this. Oh yeah. My wife just looked in, and the Katrin story. I was like, yes, this one. So like, my mom looks down the street, and 2 blocks down is, Katrin and Ben and like whoever else was walking down. And she's like, oh my God, I haven't seen her out of the, whatever all weekend. So she like bolts across the street, and she's like, hey, just like walks right up, nice as can be. She's like, I'm Tim's mom. And oh no, it was 2018 because Katrin had an inkling of who I like was. She was like, she's like, oh, that's so great. And so like, she just like assumed that Katrin knew who I was, when in reality, I'm like, Katrin and I have interacted minimally, like a couple times here and there throughout the years. Like, we're not close friends or anything like that. And she just like runs across the street in the middle of nowhere, introduces herself as my mom, and just like strikes up a conversation. And you're just like, it's just like that shit happens all the
Oh
like,
my
they're just
God.
like, they're really nice people. Like, they genuinely are 2 of the nicest humans, on the face of the planet. And like, I'll say that till the day I die. So, that goes a long way, I think.
I also like that she has this like intrinsic mom vibe that like everyone knows my son. I'm Tim's mom. Tim's the best, right? Everybody knows Tim.
100%. Yeah. Just that, like,
Oh
that
my
innate mom
God.
pride that you can't fake, and it's just kind of there all the time. Like, I could suck, and she'd still be like, oh yeah, Tim. I'm like, oh, well, I appreciate
Tim,
your-
he's like probably the best CrossFitter out there. You know that guy. He's my
Wow.
son.
They're all like that, Nikki. Every CrossFit parent I've run into is like this. Paige. I don't know if you
Oh
know
my God.
Paige Semenza's mom, but
Oh,
she is
yeah.
outrageous. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, her mom's ridiculous, like totally outrageous, like the worst potty mouth. She makes Nikki seem like a priest. Like her potty mouth is so bad. I mean,
I've
seriously.
been better lately that we've been
Yeah.
on YouTube. I'm trying really
Trying to
fucking
clean it
hard.
up a little bit.
Yes, you have
A
been.
little.
You have been a little better, but Paige's mom cusses like a sailor and just owns it, and it's so much fun to like watch a competition with. And, there was the time I ran into Travis Williams' mom. She was the same way. She's like, have you ever heard of my son, Travis? And I'm like, yeah, so we've all heard of your
I
son,
know who
Travis,
he is.
Everyone
Yeah.
knows who Travis is.
Yeah. Truthfully, like my parents are like that too. And I am my mom was constantly like, my daughter, she's like really good at CrossFit. And I'm like, oh my God, mom, no, I'm not. Please
Yeah.
stop.
Please don't do
Like,
that.
it's not like that, really. I like talk to people on TV who are really good at CrossFit. There's a difference.
That counts. Counts to mom anyway.
Wow.
It 100% counts for mom. I'm very excited to see what kind of a CrossFit dad you turn into once your son ends up being like the fittest baby on earth or something.
Oh, we'll find out. I hope I can be a graceful parent, because I know, like, I mean, I have a little bit of a temper, and like so does my wife. Like, we're just like that kind of like that protective, I'll say good temper, like that like passionate engagement with the universe. Like I consider it, productive largely. So I'm hopeful that I can be a good parent in the stands and not one of the horrible ones that I remember from my childhood.
Dude, when
Oh, screw that. I am coming in with cowbells and like signage and air horns and screw all your other kids.
Oh my God. When I started CrossFit, my coaches had a baby, and they brought this baby into class every morning. I'd be there at 5:30 and they'd have this baby in a little, carry on with them. And they were, after several years, this kid, I think by the time they left, he was like 4 or 5. And, Travis competed at the games. He finished second one year, and his kid was super fit at like 5. And he would let this kid go up an 18-foot rope. This kid would just like scurry up this rope, and he'd just stand back and let it happen. And like the nervous dad in me is like, oh my God, this kid's like, I would always stand close because I just felt like I had to catch the kid if he fell,
Just in case.
Yeah, but he was like such a CrossFit dad. He just let this kid just go up the rope like nobody's business.
I love it.
It's so ridiculous. Completely.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So what if your son just hates on CrossFit and is like, I am a theater nerd. Dad, what's up?
Oh, I mean, so like funny. I mean, I'm such a nerd. Like, I have an accounting background. Like I played games growing up. I love reading fantasy. Like, I have a deep appreciation for nerds because I am one, and I have always been one. So I'm like,
same.
Yeah, I'm the weird jock nerd. So like, I was that kind of weird middle ground. So I mean, I think I said, I forget who I was talking to about this recently, but I was like, I hope that whatever Wes likes to do, that he just feels the confidence ingrained in him from both my wife and I to like go out and just do it and not give a shit about it. Like whatever, I don't care what you do, man. Like as long as you care a lot about something and you pour yourself into it, you try and be great at it. Like, that's awesome. Like that's, it can be whatever the hell you want, but I hope you find something that, inspires you like that and drives you like that, so that, because I know plenty, there are plenty of people who just kind of meander through life not knowing what the hell they want to do, and they do something they don't really care about with a minimal passion. And it's like, that sucks. It's not a fun way to live.
Let's be honest. You have a deep love of really heavy music. I hear it on your feed all the time. So what if he comes home and tells you he really loves country western?
Oh, I enjoy country. Country is like one of that's basically the only music I enjoy besides heavy metal.
Okay.
So like basically heavy metal, country. Everything else can go to hell. So as long as he's, and so I'm already ingraining him when I'm like bopping around in the kitchen with him making dinner or something, like I've always got my metal playlist going off to the side, and he's definitely getting indoctrinated young. So hopefully he kind of picks it up, and it's all he's going to listen to in the car until he can control the radio station, which is at least 25 years away. So I mean,
for sure. Oh, for sure.
So yeah.
See, you want to say that I started mine young on Nirvana and Pearl Jam and all these rock bands, and they still like them. but I got one that listens to show tunes and the other one listens to rap, so it's like,
Goes either way.
yeah, but
Yeah.
they still like it. They'll still listen to it. Like we'll put it on and they'll like, all right, we remember this. Nirvana's cool.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, fine,
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah.
I remember the first album I remember. This may not be the first one my dad like played for me, but like the first one I remember is when we got in the car, my dad put on Americana by The Offspring, and he was basically like, you can't tell your mother, because like it was the explicit version, and I was like, I don't even remember how old I was. 8, 9, 10 years old. So it was just like, I just remember listening to that in the car with him, and like, they curse a couple times, and like 1 or 2 of the songs are just inappropriate, and like, yeah. So that was like one of my first like don't tell mom memories.
Oh my God, so funny. Your dad was hip. Look at him getting into like
Wow.
the pop culture music of the times.
Yeah, I mean, he and I have always kind of listened to similar music.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, like chicken or the egg. I don't know who started it, but I mean, like, he's always just enjoyed rock. He definitely has he has his stuff from when he was growing up that I have minimal appreciation for and have really never listened to, and I can't even bring him off the top of my head. But like when I was growing up, like there was always rock on in his car. Like, that's just kind of what he like always had Metallica or whatever going on. So I listened to it when I was growing up. And I think I was just also a very testosterone-addled youth. So I was like, hockey player, physical, I want to hit stuff, and like heavy metal just made sense.
Totally.
You said he's born in 64, and I do math well, which means he's
Ooh,
6
yeah,
years
John does.
he's 6 years older than me, so he's 56 or 57 at this point, which means he came up during the era when Metallica was first kicking off, like the early Metallica, like the really good stuff.
Yeah.
Probably, if I'm guessing, and I haven't talked to your dad about it, but I'm guessing Ozzy Osbourne would have been big. Zeppelin would have been big at that time. You would have had all the good bands. So yeah, you would have.
Yes.
And then so this is so I just remembered one of his other favorite loves. He loves the Doors, and it's like,
oh yeah,
like he always joked growing up. He's like, I was friends with the Stoners, but I wasn't a stoner. So he's like, I think that's where I got my appreciation for the Doors, was like, it was kind of just this like very like mellow, chill music that just didn't, again, it's not typical of what he would listen to. So it was just kind of like, yeah. So there you go. The Doors. I knew it was a D. I just couldn't remember what it was.
Fringe. It was a Fringe Doors listener.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to watch him compete. I think it's going to be fun.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Like I said, the dude's super fit. I mean, he's, I'm curious to see how this whole new season shapes up and what that means for the Masters, because, like he had initially, he was hoping sometime in his 55 to 60 Masters tenure to make the games as a Masters athlete. He made the online qualifier last year for the first time. So, he was kind of happy with how that progress was going. So, I'm curious to see what headquarters does with the teens and the Masters and stuff like that, because they've leaked some things. I've heard some rumor, you don't really know what's happening right now at all, but especially for those guys, like the individuals, we at least have a little bit of a guideline now. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see.
Is the Masters comp going to be in person? Like, are they all going to be on site?
As of right now,
Legends comp, yeah.
It sounds. I mean, Arizona. I mean, I think Arizona for the most part doesn't believe COVID exists. So I think I think they're kind of just like going along.
They're still counting votes out there, man. Come on. They got bigger issues to worry about.
Exactly. They can't count COVID cases. They can't even count votes.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Counting is hard, guys. Come on.
So it sounds like they're going to go off, as planned, but I feel like, I mean, I don't know what to expect of the rest of 2020 or early 2021 right now at this point. Like, you got places in the country shutting gyms down again, and like, you're just kind of sitting over here, just fingers crossed that yours doesn't get hit. So it's like, I don't know what to expect of anything, much less a live event of some kind.
I know. I feel exactly the same way. And like, as cases around the entire country rise, I'm just kind of like you said, like I listen to every address from my local governor being like, is it are we open? Do I have to wear a mask? Like, what's happening next? And I love that, like, I don't get me wrong, like, I'm the eternal optimist and I'm very excited for the year to turn over and for 2021 to be better. And we like hit the ground running with a fresh start. But like, I just think it's funny that so many people are like, oh, just wait for this year to end and everything's going to be all better. And I'm like, ooh,
Will it though? Yeah,
is
will
it
it?
though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how it works at all.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, and that, I think a lot of, I mean, and again, granted, 2020 has had its quirks, we'll call them. But like, I guess I'm also an eternal optimist, and my wife is constantly, she's mocked me over the years. She's like, sometimes you're so positive, I want to hit you. Like, like
Yep.
it's one,
My
like
husband says that to me all the time.
I can be like that sometimes, so it's like I try and find, especially this year, like I've just tried to find silver linings because there has been like so much chaos and so much stress. And like, one of the biggest ones obviously is the birth of our son, because that's, like we had that to look forward to the whole time. We were like, all right, granted, being pregnant and dealing with COVID was its own stress. And my wife's a physical therapist, so she was working in a hospital full time throughout the whole thing. So,
Oh my
like, it
God.
carried its own stresses for sure. But it's still kind of like, it was always the shining light was like, hey, he's coming, like this thing that we decided to do, like he's on his way. So it definitely helped maintain some perspective, despite like the gym getting shut down and just kind of all the craziness and chaos that came from that. So like, yeah, but I'm definitely I'm an eternal optimist, but I can also be a very harsh realist sometimes. So I feel like I kind of I swing to both sides of the spectrum.
What what will you do? Like if we get to a point where we have to shut down again, what was your gym's plan? Like, do you do Zoom classes, home mods, equipment rentals? Like where do you stand on all that stuff?
Yeah, so we did. We rented out all of our equipment, no questions asked. First time it happened, and then we opened up for a little bit, and then we shut down again. So like we've rented out our equipment 2, if not 3 times now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we write in that home program, and I film daily videos. Like I do YouTube videos every day that are like 8 to 12 minutes long, and I basically walk through everything. So I'll walk through the warm up exercises, the skill stuff, the scaling options depending on what you have, the cool downs. Like I'll go through all of that stuff because frankly, I mean, we just found that our members just didn't take to Zoom classes. Like they just, I feel
Yeah.
like some gyms, it was like wildfire. Like I saw gyms with like 25 people in a Zoom class. And like, I barely get 2. Like where the hell are you finding 25 people to go sit on a computer and work out together? Like again, for whatever reason, I mean, we live in a relatively small town in, central New York. And I mean, I don't know if it's technology problems or just hatred of technology. I don't know what it is, but it just, Zoom classes didn't work for us. So yeah, we did them for a few weeks, but we very quickly faded them off because it was just it wasn't worth the time and effort on the part of our coaching staff. So for the people that wanted that, daily interaction, we started doing one-on-one check-ins via FaceTime. So like for the members who were like, hey, I need some help, I need some guidance or whatever, our coaching staff basically just set up like a weekly 20-minute appointment, and they would just have a FaceTime. You could get to see the staff, interact. You could go over some movements if you wanted to, or just shoot the shit. And that's frankly what most of mine turned into. Like we talked about fitness like the first week or 2. And then after that, it was basically just like a weekly call with the members to just say, hey, what's up, and see how life was going. So
Oh, I love that. That's what we really needed when we were all like for real shut in for, the beginning part, especially like we just needed other human interaction outside of, the people who we were stuck in the house with.
oh yeah, I mean, and it was like, I mean, those check-ins were, I mean, honestly, they were good. Like I'm an introvert, but like they were great for me too, because again, Caitlin, my wife, she worked the whole pandemic. So like
Yeah.
once the gym was shut down, I was like, I'm at home all day, and like I was training for the games at that point. The games, I didn't know if they were going to happen, but I was still training. With other
Right.
athletes. It's like, I wasn't coaching in person. It was all back end stuff of figuring out like, all right, how do we transition? How do we transition the gym to remote, operations? And then there was all the CrossFit stuff going on, and just like interacting with members and constantly communicating. I worked more the first like 4 weeks of the pandemic than I probably have in the last like year. Like on my computer from like 6 a.m. until 8 p.m., like constantly just trying to figure out how to best go about this. So yeah, that was a journey.
Well, I at least feel like even if we get back to a point of closures or shutdowns or whatever, because of COVID, I at least feel like we're all prepped so that the transitions will be smoother. We've already done this once. We know if we just buckle down and do it for a while, then we can get back to our lives. Like, hopefully it'll be less of a scramble and less of a scary situation, because we're all just gonna be like, okay, we've done this. Like, let's get back to work, and then we can get back to normal.
I'm over here nesting like a new father right now, worried about the next shutdown. Like, seriously.
Are you the reason why we're back to toilet paper bans?
Yeah, I've been down in my basement for the last 3 days, like working on the floors, getting them back to ready, making sure I've got all my gear in the right place. Going, all right, the gym's shutting down again in a couple of weeks, so I got to be prepared to work out at home.
Oh man,
I should do, you know what? Now that you're saying that out loud, I should totally do that. I was thinking about investing in an air runner. Maybe now's the time.
Maybe.
I mean, if you can get, you can't buy crap for exercise equipment right now. So unless you've got like a secret dealer, like, please, if you have one, send them my way, because I would love to, I want to get an echo bike for my basement. And like our basement's almost fully outfitted. So there's like the only thing missing, is an assault bike or an echo bike at some point. So
Danielle Brandon was selling one yesterday. I wish I would have known.
Really?
Yes,
Oh,
it was in her story.
Oh man, that's the only thing I have left. I just got a new rower for the basement. Like, things are looking good.
You know what you need to do is, do you follow Joel T on Instagram? He's as many reviews as possible.
No.
Get it? AMRAP, as many reviews as possible. You should, and everyone listening should, and turn on post notifications for him, because he gets like the scoop on all the deals. That's his thing. It's like he does reviews on like equipment and gear, and sometimes I'll pop into his YouTube channel and do like a lady review. We all met. John introduced me to him at the Under Armour Human Performance Summit that we went to at the beginning of this year, before COVID ruined the world.
Yes.
Yeah, and Joel he knows who's having a sale. He knows when insert piece of equipment here happens to be like back on Amazon. So follow him, as many reviews as possible, and turn on your little like post notifications on Instagram for when things are back in stock.
He's got the hookup then.
He knows. He just knows all the things all the time.
What do you need? An echo bike or an assault bike, or either?
I don't really have a preference, but part of me wants to get an echo because my gym has assaults. So like for training variants, it would be really nice to have, it would be nice to have an echo for if it pops up in a competition, just so I have one. And also, just change. I guess just change. Why not? Like, I've only used assault bikes and I've only died on them for the last 7 years. So why not try and die on something different?
Fair.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think like everyone, it's from a business standpoint, like obviously we have a lot of data now. So like if we were to get shut down again, we have some policies and procedures in place. We have a rough idea of what we would do, from that standpoint, I feel like we could handle it pretty well. And we're one of the only gyms in town that weathered the storm. Like most of the other gyms locally, again, we're in a relatively small town. They all shut down. We lost 3 micro gyms over the course of the shutdown, maybe 4, definitely 3, maybe 4.
What's a micro gym?
I guess anything akin to a CrossFit affiliate, like a small personal training studio or a functional fitness gym or a weightlifting gym, like anything kind of in that like very niche. I guess anything not a Globo gym to me is like a micro gym, essentially.
Sure.
So we lost a bunch of them during the shutdown. So, we scrape by the skin of our teeth. So I would question like people's willingness to shut down again, because I think the more and this is a very much off topic conversation that I've been thinking about lately, is just like people seem to be very burnt out by COVID. And like, maybe that's from a lack of a unified, plan from state to state. Like, certain states never shut down and other states were shut down for 5 months, like there's such a grand variance about what happened. Like my gym was closed for almost 6 months, and I have friends' gyms that never closed. And, so it's just like, you're in those weird, like, what the, like, so we were closed for 6 months. And if we're still in trouble, then are you going to tell me that closing for a month is going to fix the problem? I think like that's where, and that's going to be me being, I'll say, a healthy skeptic of like, I'll do whatever they say is best for the greater population. Like, again, I'm not going to be that guy who stands up there and pumps my fist on the
right.
I'm definitely not going to go that route, but at the same time, I'd like to see some rationale and some logic and some science behind this stuff, because, especially living in New York State, I feel like we've for whatever reason, our governor like is just on a crusade against gyms. Like just like couldn't be more mad at our existence for whatever reason. And there's just like anytime anything bad happens, it's like, oh, it's gyms. It's like, oh, COVID clusters, gyms. It's like, well, no, they're not. There hasn't been a single COVID cluster traced to a gym in New York State at
Right.
all. So
Right.
so why are you so mad?
I
Like,
know. You're so right. And that's what makes this really difficult is like waiting to hear if we're going to be shut down again, just because in general, everyone's doing, numbers are rising and everyone's doing so poorly. But, my gym has been open since June 1st and, coaches get tested and whatever. We haven't had a single issue, knock on wood, since June 1st. And we followed every precaution and we're 14 feet apart and our owner built these barriers out of like clear plexiglass and PVC pipes. And it looks like a maze, looks like a labyrinth in the gym, whatever. He did everything he had to do. And we have been operating awesome since June 1st. And so if we need to close because for society, we need to shut everything down in order to regroup or whatever, like I get it. It's just really hard to be like, well, the science shows that like we're doing great and that people who work out aren't really as affected as much. And it's just hard. It's hard because I get it. I get why we need to close. And I'm like, but at the same time, like we're doing so good. Do we have to? Well, I don't know.
And that's when that's when you get into the greater societal question of, all right, well, can you trust people to do what's right or not? And like, does the government have to mandate what's right or wrong because people are dumb or smart? Like, that's, I feel like that's where we're at the balance now is like, all right, if we could all trust each other to just be smart and do the right thing and try and take care of each other, we'd probably be fine. But I do not suspect that is the case.
I have so many opinions on this, so many opinions, but I don't want to get blown up in my DMs for 2 weeks. So I'm going to keep them to myself. However, I will say though, as an avid CrossFitter, like the difference between doing Zoom classes and not doing Zoom classes, I'm with you. Like, I don't think Zoom classes are the way for gyms to go. If I were given an affiliate owner suggestions or advice, I would say find ways to increase accountability outside of those calls. So like I've been kind of splitting my time between my home gym and going to Cliffside. And whenever I work out at home, these days I don't do my own programming. I find somebody else who's done a workout at another gym. I find out what the time should be, and then I go do it. So like today, for instance, the workout I did was terrible. But I knew what the time range should be. And I wanted to quit in my last round, but I'm like, I got to hit that time. I had the accountability of knowing where I needed to be. And I crushed myself to get there, so I got just as good a workout as I would have under the supervision of my coaches, or, maybe not form wise, but I got the job done. I got the job done, and I think it's finding ways to increase that accountability. And so I love what you said earlier about, getting together for calls and, kind of conversations around what they're doing. I think the more we can do that, I think the more we can push our community together and get through it. Like my fear is what you described is we just keep seeing gyms close, and it just breaks my heart just to think, how many affiliates are affected by that.
Oh yeah. I mean,
no, positive. We're thinking positive.
Exactly. But I mean, it's definitely, I mean, it's a bummer. Like there's, this is like the economy is going to be on, I mean, there's going to be an economic shift, like as far as small businesses go. That's, I mean, in my opinion, going to be unprecedented, that like from the last few decades, just because again, small businesses are closing at a rate that we haven't seen in, I mean, not in my lifetime. And it's only going to continue because most of the businesses that are open now probably took on massive debt in order to stay open. And as the time goes along, like as long as COVID exists and everyone's operating under restrictions, like my gym wasn't designed to operate with 10-person classes, that like we don't, we can't pay our rent long-term with 10 people in a classroom. Like, we need 20 people in a classroom, and, whether it's a restaurant or whatever it is, like, again, businesses aren't designed to operate at minimal capacity. Like there's a reason that businesses strive for a certain level of occupancy and revenue. And like, that's, I don't know how long you can get away with this, like, again, I cut our operations down as lean as we could. And even then, we're still only in the black right now, barely, because of a rent break. Like, we were lucky enough to work with our landlord, and we got a big enough cut on rent through the end of the year that, we're able to hold on tight. But like, I don't know what's going to happen when January comes. Like, if our rent goes back up to our standard number and we're still limited by COVID, or we're shut down again, like, there's a lot of questions and there's a lot of unknowns.
Well, I think the only answer is you have to go win the CrossFit games.
There's that.
You know?
Yeah.
Just dump all the cash in the gym, save
Yes.
nothing, and just call it a day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Perfect.
That's the
You
goal for
liquidize your metal.
Yeah, there you go.
exactly.
Yeah. You hawk
Or-
the gold.
More importantly, I will have unlocked my dad's strength by next year, so I won't be so
Yes.
sit on the front squat. I won't get dominated by it, and everything will be fine.
Dude, dad strength, that's gonna change everything. Matt
waiting
who, right?
for it to kick in. It's only been 6 weeks, and I don't feel any stronger. So
Takes a minute. John, how long does it take?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know yet.
we'll see.
I would definitely not know yet. No, you'll always be the dad when you're a kid will be like, my dad's stronger than your dad, and you can actually prove it. That'll be the,
Oh, well, yeah.
Turns out that kid's not messing around. He's actually being. He's not lying. His dad is actually stronger than you.
Yeah.
I hope I can stay
Aw.
fit well into his. I mean, yeah, that's going back to having like kids and all that stuff. Again, like, I think one of the coolest things is like, I'm a little bit older than my dad. My parents had me when they were 23-ish, 4. So, I'm 30.
Oh my God, babies.
Oh, I know. But like, it's just one of those things where I'm like, all right, when he's in his teens, I'm going to be pushing 45. So like, I hope all this fitness that I've been doing for the last, 10 years doesn't cripple me as I get into my master's years and I stay functional, because it'd be pretty sweet to be able to, again, like kind of like my dad, like plays all the sports that he wants and just like be super active, well into his life, not become a, sedentary old grouch.
oh, you'll be able to. The only difference at this age, 10, like I'm 50. So the only difference at this age is you wake up and you're just not quite sure what's going to work that day. It'll probably work, but you're just not positive, You're like,
some things will fire on all cylinders, some won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way it works. Just the way it works.
I'm confident.
Yeah. Well, it's been great, dude. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for taking time. I know that it's, with a new baby, it's hard to find it.
Oh.
So this was awesome.
You can always make time for you guys.
Oh, yay.
These
Good.
are-
We'll do this same time next week. Perfect.
Exactly. I'll steal him, have a beer, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna go steal him from my wife now and cuddle him. So
That's
Totally
true.
fair.
it's my
Totally
turn.
fair.
All right. Well, thanks, Tim. We appreciate it. Nikki, I hope you got your baby fever out of the way for the night. I feel bad for your husband who's going to hear this for the rest of the night. What do we have in a
Poor
baby? What do we have
guy.
in a baby?
Come on.
I know. Let's do it. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Good seeing you. And for everyone listening, we appreciate you joining us. We'll chat with you guys soon.